On today's episode, we are going to take a look at BLNK Charging. This is an EV charging stock. Their CEO just went on an interview today, and the stock is up almost 7% for the day. From its all-time high, the stock is down about 32%. So in today's episode, we're going to take a look at what the CEO said. We're also going to do a quick analysis on the company. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and follow me on Twitch where I live stream taking a look at stocks you want me to look at. So let's get started. I want to thank the Motley for sponsoring this video. The Motley is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You guys know I love finding new investing tools and resources to help me scout out new growth stocks. And right now I have a discount for one of my favorite services the Fool offers. Through the Motley Stock Advisor service, you get access to a ton of expert stock picks. Every month you'll get 2 picks that are aimed at growing your wealth and to help you realize your financial goals. Stock Advisor's average stock picks have done some crazy returns. If growing your money is something you'd like to do more of this year, you can visit thefool.com/Jose Najarro or click on the link below for access to my special offer and decide if the stock advisor is right for you. Thanks again to the Motley Fool, and now back to today's episode. Alright, so like I mentioned, today we are going to take a look at BLNK. They are an EV charging solution company. They design, manufacture, own, and operate EV charging stations. If we want to take a look at the stock, right now it's traded under the NASDAQ as ticker BLNK. It currently has a market cap of $1.7 billion. We can see it's pretty small. From its all-time highs, the stock is down about 32%. And from year to date, the stock is up about 8.7. Today, the CEO did come out and talk a bit about the company, and the stock is up about 6.3%. So first, let's summarize what the CEO talked about in this interview. First, he wanted to really explain how his business model is work. Most people who think about BLNK charging station, they think they sell these charging stations, and that's where they collect most of their revenue. Even though right now, at this current stage of its life, that is true, most of this company's revenue comes from selling of EV charging stations. That's not where their main business is at. Their main business is to partner with like large lands and make contracts for exclusive charging stations owned and operated by BLNK. So for the future, their main revenue wants to come from the selling of energy, not the sale of hardware. I actually think that is a smart move of both selling the hardware, but the main form of revenue is the charging station itself. A perfect example would be like Peloton, right? Peloton sells its bikes, but they also collect that revenue from that subscription base. So let's find out a little bit more about the company right now. BLNK right now has over 15,000 EV charging stations in the United States. Close to 10,000 are from residential areas. Another 5,000 and so are from commercial EV charging stations. So we can see right now the huge driver force for this company is the residential area. And even though residential areas, you probably just pay for the hardware, you're not going to be paying for that energy anymore. It is building this form of customer relationship. So let's say you are a residential owner and you have a BLNK charging station. Next time you go out in the public and you want to charge your station, they have an application, BLNK has an application that allows you to find other BLNK charging stations in the commercial region. So if you're already a customer in the residential, you're most likely going to be a customer in the commercial area as well when you want to charge and you're nowhere near home. Even though this stock, I haven't mentioned it, but this stock in the past year has gone up over almost 3,000%. This is still the early stages for the EV market. Right now in 2020, about 2% of the total vehicle sales are electric vehicle sales. By 2025, only 7%. In about 2030, the EV percentage of sales is still only going to be 24%. So there's still a huge growth in this market. We're not even in the first inning of this EV market. And unfortunately, I'm not in too many EV stocks at the moment. And maybe I should change this as more I read about this overall bullishness in the EV market, the more I see why some of these stocks have extended. Obviously, not all these companies are going to do well. And I've talked about this plenty of times in all my videos. Just because the EV market as a whole is going to continue to grow, it doesn't mean all the EV companies are going to survive. There's going to be a lot of losers, more losers than there are going to be winners. So it has to be very important to do due diligence and understand that a market like this is going to be very volatile. Stock prices are going to go up big. But if they all go up big, they can also go down fast and hit hard. Here we can see Blink talks about some of their competitors, and they say one of the major advantages of Blink is that they have a full business model from manufacturing hardware to networking to own and operate their charging stations, where no other competitor does all three. If we take a look at their business model, they have multiple revenue streams. The main one that they want to grow in the future is the energy sales, and this is by owning those charging stations. They also want to do hardware sales, which is currently the biggest portion. They want to do network management, advertisement, and energy services. I do believe the two major players for this company in the future will be the energy sales and the hardware sales. Right now, we can take a look at their technology. They have residential charging stations. They also have commercial charging stations. They're coming up with some new future products as well, the portable charger and a fast DC charging station for commercial use. They also have other products in development, and I thought these were pretty cool. The ones I liked the most were these media charging stations where they can start advertising for brands here, and that's another form of revenue. I like that a lot. The second one is these shipping EV charging containers. I'm pretty sure these are going to be like portable charging stations. Hey, maybe you only need it for certain events. Let's say there's a form of music event, and that music event wants to grab some EV charging stations. You can just rent out these containers and take them to whatever station you want to take it, and then just movable, just use them for that event. I actually like that a lot. Right now, they also have a great range of customers. For example, Starbucks, for McDonald's, Wendy's, a lot of big names around here. And the great thing about this is if you own an electric vehicle and you know that, hey, maybe Wendy's and you enjoy fast food, and you know that Wendy's has a charging stations, it's more likely that you will now start going to that Wendy's because there is a charging station. So you can grab food and charge your car at the same time. So now let's take a quick look at this company's revenue financial summary. For the 9 months ended September 30th, this company had a total revenues of about $3.7 million. Yes, that is $million. So we can see why a lot of people are skeptical about a company like this. This price to sales valuation is probably off the roof. Most of the company's revenue is coming from product sales. This is the hardware. But remember, in the future, that's not where they want this business to go. In the future, they want it to be charging service revenue. It has grown about 83% compared to the same time last year. So we can see an improvement in this overall company's revenue. Right now, we can see it's definitely in the early stages of its business. Now let's take a closer look at some of the future growth and a bit more fundamentals of the company. The company right now is expected to grow 53.2% on average for the next 3 to 5 years. So this is a hyper growth stock for sure. Right now, the company is not profitable and it does not have positive cash flow from operations. But that doesn't deter me from buying. It just shows me, hey, I need to be a little bit more strict on their balance sheet. If we take a look at their balance sheet, the company has about $15 million in cash and less than $1 million in debt. So right now we can see the company is definitely very well in form of balance sheet. They have plenty of cash, and I don't see them need the need to build up any form of liquidity or any form of cash right now, just because their balance sheet is doing pretty smoothly. It's going pretty well. So now let me share my thoughts. Right now, Blink overall fundamentally good, right? We're seeing strong revenue growth. We see a strong balance sheet. Things I didn't like, it wasn't positive in earnings. It wasn't positive in cash flow from operations. Another thing though is it has very low revenues at the moment. This is one of those stocks or one of those companies that this is the early stages in them. We saw the EV market is still it's still a baby. It's pretty much an infant at this moment. Only about 2% of total sales, not even, make up the total global automobile sale. That is insane. So we can see it's definitely a very infant state in the overall EV market. So a company like this can continue to grow. But one like this is one that I personally would never have a huge percentage in my portfolio just because of the risk. There is a lot of risk on this company. What if it doesn't make it? What if there's another charging station that comes out and takes most of the shares? So right now, I don't own Blink. I don't think I'm gonna buy anytime soon. But the more and more I'm learning about this EV market, the more bullish I'm becoming, and I'm starting to at least put some of these companies on a watch. And I do think Blink is gonna make that watch list right now for my overall EV market and whenever I decide to start buying. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good night, and see you next time.